Hi, everyone, and welcome into this latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans on SI, Aidan Champion. Going to steer away from football for a moment and talk some hoops because haven't really in a little bit. And basketball, summertime, you got Moneyball Pro-Am going on. There's recruiting going on, all sorts of stuff. And we will get into more of that as all that heats up. But I want to talk about something. I want to look ahead and talk about something we that isn't necessarily relevant at this moment, but it's something you need to think about. And that's I want to pose the question: how built for success is this team for the future? Because I've said I firmly believe this team, even without Caleb Glenn, will compete amongst the best in the Big Ten. I don't think they'll win the conference again, but I think they will be right up there with the best of them still. I think you're bringing back so much experience from last year, key guys who helped take you to the Elite Eight and helped win you a Big Ten title. But you gotta, in the back of your mind, you gotta think a little bit about beyond that because Jackson Kohler's gone next year or 2026. Carson Cooper's gone after this next season, and then I'm I would think, if I had to predict, I'd say Carson or Colin Carr is gone. I think he'll have you know, last year was a breakout year, but I think this will be the year he makes a case for himself as a maybe first round draft pick. Um, and then Jeremy Fears, that one's more up in the air. I would predict him to be back after next season just because I don't think he'd be quite ready uh, to go to the league just yet. Um, and he's still only going to be a red shirt sophomore uh, going into the fall. So he's got some good amount of eligibility left. And I don't think I don't think he's gonna be your leading scorer. I don't think he's necessarily gonna be um like a first or second team all Big Ten kind of guy. I know there's a lot of people who who think that Jeremy's gonna really take the reins and be the go-to scorer for this team. Um, and that's not a wild prediction, but I don't think that's necessarily his game. He's your floor general. He's pass first. I certainly think that he is a really good scorer when you need him to be, but I just don't necessarily see that, and I see him coming back after next season. But Jeremy aside, then what do you have? Do you like the veterans you have? Now I know we're looking way far ahead, so a lot of it is going to depend on how these guys do next season. But um, I guess that's why we're asking the question. So you got you got Kurt Tang, and I'm really confident that Kurt Tang is going to have a great year this season. Gon- I expect him. I think most people expect him to come off the bench, be back up to Trey Fort, but I do think he sees a lot of minutes. Will be crucial to the shooting that this team has lacked. So really high on Kurting. I could see him. someday really being the guy on this team because he's still so young and he's bringing into next season valuable experience watching from afar, not afar, but of course he was there for it all and did play in, I think it was 19 games. Um, but didn't play a whole lot. Um, but was able to be a part of that winning culture, experience all that title, the Big Ten title run and a deep tournament run. So he's got that. And he was practicing against these guys every day in practice. So, um, really valuable experience there with Kurtang. And I think this year he's going to be more of a spot up shooter, but I think definitely down the road he'll add more to his game, as we've seen with a lot of guys throughout their careers at Michigan State. I think of um, Jaden Akins being one of them, a guy whose game really developed throughout his career. Um, so in that regard, um, again, way down the line, but think you're in good hand. You would be in good hands with Kurting if he goes on the trajectory that I am anticipating him to. And then Jesse McCulloch, I know we still haven't even seen him, or at least the fans haven't seen him play. And but I believe this is a guy who can really develop into a really good player. Um, he's a center. He, like Kurtang, was a backup on, or not a backup. He didn't play last year, redshirted, but was a scout team guy. So battled these guys in practice. He gave them the looks to prepare for the toughest teams in the Big Ten last year. So when he is back and he's healthy, obviously the expectation he plays behind Carson Cooper this year. Izzo really high on him. Didn't um, he seemed very much against the red shirt, having to redshirt Jesse, but um, I think it'll ultimately help his career. So you got him, and then Divine Ugochukwu someday, if he stays with Michigan State, will take over for Jeremy at the point. If he adds if he has perimeter shooting to his game, definitely could see him being really good down the road as well. Because I really liked his tape from Miami. Really aggressive score, uh, good distributor, good defender. I like Divine a lot. Could add some muscle. All things that, he's going to be a sophomore, all things that he can add as he gets older. Caleb Glenn, once he comes back, if you lose Cohen Carr, Caleb Glenn, I think, is your guy in 2026. That's your veteran. That's your guy who will have had the most experience, and that's what I think should give fans hope about the future. Um, because I'm sure there's some uneasiness about how this team will look um, in 2026. I also do think that Tom Izzo doesn't have any commits right now, but I think he will have a pretty strong 26 class just based on who he's been recruiting so far. Um, and he's got a great track record. I feel like he is due for a big time recruit. Jace Richardson obviously went on to be a first round pick, but wasn't a 5 star. Um, and no one really saw that coming after his first year. So I think this is the class of 26, I think Tom Izzo gets uh, his 5 star again, or borderline 5 star type of guy. And then speaking of recruiting, Cam Ward, I like Cam Ward a lot. I think he's going to be great for this team this year, this coming season, and then I think he's going to develop into a great player beyond that, and he's going to get vital experience playing behind some great veterans next season. Uh, and I think that will only help his game. I'm sure he'll develop into a better shooter as well. Cam Ward someday I think, is going to be your guy. Um, him and Glenn in 2026, I think that will be an awesome kind of wing power forward pairing. So to answer the question, yeah, I think this team is set up well for success. Um, After this coming season, I think there is reason to be hopeful still. And I know I'm looking way far ahead. We don't even know what we're gonna get from next year's team. But um, like I said, these are things you do have to think about, and especially with Tom Izzo as time's ticking. Um, we don't know when he'll hang it up, but could be any year now. We really don't know. So, for the fans, you know, they're you guys are looking at um you're looking at that stuff. You're looking down the road, um, seeing how much more open the window is for at least one more national championship for Tom Izzo, um, or at least another Final Four run. Um, but these are all really just estimations because a lot of the guys I mentioned, um, we haven't even really seen what they can do in important games, um, in uh, when taking on significant minutes. So let me know what you guys think, if this program is set up for success after the 25-26 season, and um, what you're thinking of some of these young guys, and if they can someday take on um, take on the challenge left behind by these seniors and Cohen Carr and even Jeremy. I mean, because I think it's kind of, um, I mean, I believe he'll come back after this next season, but um, there's always there's always a possibility that he really breaks out and becomes a guy that you start seeing in mock drafts and whatnot. But uh, especially with his brother who just went as a lottery pick. But yeah, let me know what you think. This is all just filler talk because it's the dog days of the off season, and we're just trying to find the most interesting things we can talk about at this point. And this was a topic that I did think was interesting. So let me know. Thank you as always for tuning in. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. And uh, if you aren't able to tune in before the 4th, hope you have a great 4th of July as well. Thank you, everybody.